Hello, YouTube land. This is Brent Son coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. Today we have a story from Jeovanni, and this story takes place in Puerto Rico. There are things out there in the woods scarier than Bigfoot and Dogman. Anyway, that's something that he said, and you're gonna dig this story, that's for sure. It's a winged type creature, and I'll let him explain it a little better. If anyone out there has a story they'd like to share here on the show, you can contact me at brentonson@gmail.com. Give a brief description of your story and contact information. If you want me to read your story and you don't want to appear on the show, just say that you would rather me read it, and I'll be glad to put it in the file and get to reading some of these stories soon. Okay, if anybody out there wants to contribute to help me with this show, you can do so by going to a link in the description, PayPal me, and every contribution is very much appreciated. I think that you're going to remember a story similar to this from Debbie in Texas, and I will put that video in the cards. So if you tap the screen, you'll get a little white dot that pops up in the right corner at the top. Click that little white dot and it'll give you a drop down menu, and I think her story was something like 12 human bird-like creatures, something like that. It's in the title, so go check that out and compare it to this one after you're done watching. I think you'll see some similarities there. Hope you enjoy the story. Let's go talk to Jeovanni. Okay, Jeovanni, I'd like for you to give an introduction to yourself, and then we will get into your story.
All right, Ben. My name is Jeovanni. I'm a soldier in the United States Army. I've been in the Army for 22 years now, and have been around the world. I'm originally from Puerto Rico, and that's just about what I'm at.
Okay, and Puerto Rico is actually part of the United States, isn't it?
Yes. It's one of the territories, just like Guam and Philippines.
Okay, because even on the phone number, there is a one area code. It prefixed
Yes.
to the area code, and that any country that's outside the United States is different than that. So that's
Yes.
that's interesting. Now, Puerto Rico. No, I haven't. I don't believe I've had a story from Puerto Rico before, and so this is quite interesting. One of the things I thought was kind of neat that you were talking about yesterday was that you would be on some of these forums, Bigfoot forums and things like that, and you would say that there's things in the woods that are scarier than Bigfoot.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think everybody's going to be in for a treat for this, for sure, man. I guess let's just tell your story, and we'll talk about some other similar story from Texas that time.
Okay, no problem. All right, so this happened back in 1995. I was in college in Puerto Rico, and I was part of a fraternity, and we decided to take our initiates to a woodland adventure. Think about it, back then it was fun, but now it's not as fun as it could have been. I just got back out of my basic training from the Army, and I said, well, I will camouflage completely. We will run around the woods, and we'll be scaring them there. Now, I'll tell you something about Puerto Rico. We don't really go into the woodlands at night because we don't have any, we don't hunt. There's no big game out there. There are no predators. There are no really big animals or anything that can really hurt anybody, or we can hunt it. There's nothing there. So we brought along one of our another fraternal brothers who was a cop at the time, and I believe he still is a cop. And we decided to cross the woodland at about a mile. It was a mile across in this area. So we went into the woods, and they brought in the initiates. We were running around the woods, scaring them off and running them around the woods. Well, at the end of the night, we decided to say, okay, well, we're just going to escort everybody outside the woods. We escorted them out to at least about probably 100 meters out so they can get out and find their way out. And me and my other friend, the cop, we decided to go back because we're like, okay, we got to make sure that there are no stragglers. We don't want anybody being lost here or something happening to them, and then, that will be in our conscience. Or we just don't want any. We were just worried about everybody else's safety. So we return into the woods, and we walk about half a mile back into the woods just to make sure that there was nobody there. And as we were walking back towards the group, we hear this wing flapping, like woof, woof, coming out from above us. There was this big shadow coming at us, so we kind of ducked down, kind of hit the floor, and we hear this, it passed over us, and I hear this kind of like a stump, like something just falling on the ground, like really hard. And as I look back, I see, I look at this tree, and I see this thing rising up, using the tree like as a prop, like trying to like standing up, and it was a human looking thing, but it had wings, bat wings on it. The bat wings were about 6 to 7 foot wingspan. It was huge. This thing was like big, and as it's coming up, it started looking back at us. And we are just stunned looking at this thing. And as they start to stand up and looking back at us, we can see the face was all white, completely white face, and the eyes were black, like no iris, no. You can see it was kind of like a hole for eyes. And as it's looking back at us, it's like smirking, like in a way to say, I got you. As it's looking at us, my friend, he pulls out his pistol, and he popped 2 shots at it. As he pops 2 shots at it, I said, we got to get out of here. We got to run. So we started running. I'm running in front of him. He's running behind me. As I look at him, just make sure that he's still behind me. He looked back, and he then popped 3 more shots at this thing. What's curious about it is it was tall. It's about 6, 7 foot tall. My friend was 6 foot tall, and that thing was just about a foot higher than he was. It was about 50 feet away from us. Probably that's about 20 yards out, and we got a clear look at it. It was humanoid. It had looked like a human, but it had horns on his head, like those type of ram horns, like a ram, and they came across his face, across his head, completely to the back. And as I was looking back, I could see like this black eyes. This was just what really got me: the black eyes and the smirk, the big old mouth that it had. The mouth almost went from ear to ear because the way it was smiling, it was just like not it didn't have no good intentions for what I could tell. As we were running, he runs out. We got lost in the woods, so he asked me, "How are we going to get out of here?" And having this thing whooping back behind us, I said, "Well, I kind of like my Army training kicked in, and I started. My other friends were smoking outside the woods, so I started smelling the smell of cigarette smoke. So I just followed my nose all the way out to the woods. As we were coming out, we stopped hearing it. Whatever it was cramped. coming from the trees and snapping branches. But as we get out of the woods, all of our other friends are like, "What happened? Why we heard shots? What are you shot at?" And we didn't say anything. We didn't really want him to. We didn't want him to believe that we were crazy, but we didn't say anything to them. As we walked away from the group, I asked him, I said, "What did you see?" Well, what, and he said, "Well, whatever it was, it's not going to, if it was a prowler, tomorrow we'll know because I showed him 5 times and it should be something coming out in the news, somebody who's we found dead." And plus he was a cop. But I don't think that he thought it was a prowler from the get-go, because as a cop, he wouldn't shot five times at this thing. But that was what we saw in the woods that night.
Yeah, that is a scary creature. Now, you said that the whole creature was basically black. The face was white. Yeah. It had a very wide mouth, so the smile was unnaturally long. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And then it had curled ram horns that went around like a ram would have. The wings,
yes.
The wings were a skin, like black skin type. And what did the body look like again?
The body was muscular, and it was covered with some sort of fur, like a bat, like a bat fur.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So the body was furry and the wings were just basically skin. That's almost like a bat, yeah. Basically.
Basically, wow. Yes.
Wow. And he was about how tall?
He was about 7 foot tall. I could tell because of we were 50 feet away from it. My friend is right next to me. My friend is 6 foot tall, around 6'1", and in comparison, that even as I'm looking at the 50 feet away and looking at my friend, I could see that this creature was about a foot and a half taller than he was. I could tell that he was bigger than my friend, way bigger.
So basically, that's a Sasquatch size thing that is, almost looked like a bat with a clown face and a grin.
Yes.
I mean that the white
and a grin,
the white paint or the white face, that just adds to the scary of it. To me, my goodness. And horns. I mean, that's never good. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You see something with horns, yes. That's not good, unless it's a cow or something. Or a deer.
Exactly.
And
I could tell there were horns. Because they did not match the color of the face. And even though it was dark at night, we were out there for about hour and a half. By then, our night vision was already kicked in. So I could tell the difference between the contrast between the white face and its gray horns that he had on his head.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know what you see when you see something, and you hear people say, "Oh, you misidentified something." That's bull. I mean, we were talking about that yesterday. I've never been to the zoo and looked at the bears and thought it was a deer, or I never looked at the monkeys and thought it was a goat, or and even when you're in the woods, and some people say, "Oh, you misidentified a bear." A bear is very round looking, and a Sasquatch is not round looking. They're very humanoid shaped and extremely muscular. Now, did this thing, was it built kind of like the descriptions of Sasquatches with the muscle mass?
No. It was muscular, but it was more like what is it, like a more like a runner, built like a
Okay.
runner, like a muscular runner. It was not looking thick, but it was tall, and I could tell that it had muscle, the muscle tone, but it was not huge as a Sasquatch's description. So it was more athletic, I will say.
Yeah, and that would probably be better for flying, you know. But a Sasquatch would have
Yeah.
to have wings at about 80 feet long to get that body off the ground, you know. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yes, yes.
yeah, that makes sense, you know, to me. Did you see any teeth?
I couldn't tell if there were teeth or not because my first my mind is trying to make sense of what I was seeing right at that moment. I'm looking at my friend who's a cop, and I'm looking at this thing, and as it's smirking, the mouth did not open. It was just like a big smirk. I couldn't tell if it had teeth or not. I could tell. I know the eyes were just black sockets.
Right.
Where
Yeah.
the eye's supposed to be was just black sockets.
Did it appear to have lips?
They have what, you say, sir?
Lips? Like
Lips?
it? Like, yeah.
No. It did not have. It was like a thin lips. It like not even non-existent lips.
Right. Yeah. A big old, basically long slit that. So
Yes,
it
for
would
mouth.
if it opened its mouth wide, it would have a huge mouth then, wouldn't it?
Yes,
And the shape
yes,
of the head. What you was telling me a little bit about that yesterday. Can you describe that again?
yes. It's it was conical in a way where the top of the head with the horns were is round, but then it all ended into a pointy, like a not as pointy, like one would think, not pointy, but it had a square jaw, but it ended in a point. It did not ended like it was not round. It was pointy, like a very square jaw, and at the end, and they ended in a point, not round like anybody else.
Yeah.
I could tell.
So in comparison, the jaw was, uh, uh, even though it was square, it was smaller than the roundness of the top of the head. So it came down to a guitar pick
Yes,
looking kind of shape with a cut off end.
yes,
Mm, wow. And you know those sharper points like that. And you know if you ever do any artwork, that is something that you try to implement to create something scary. You know, sharp, jagged, or you know, pointy stuff. You know. So,
yeah.
but man, I tell you what, when it turned around and you were trying to figure this out, when you saw the eyes, what was you thinking? Um, I mean, what was you thinking at this point? You're like, uh-oh, or what? You know?
Well, at this point, I'm thinking, what in the world is this? First off, um, I couldn't. I could tell you that my brain was not catching up with what my eyes were seeing. So it was fear that actually took over, and the flight of fight effect came into control, and as my friend popped two shots at it, it broke down the fright, and it was into the flight mode, the run. I'm thinking this thing is it's not gonna, it doesn't have good intentions with us. Um, it can't get us. If it wants, it can make something out of us. So we're not. I'm not gonna wait for that to happen. So
Right,
as we were running out, I keep thinking, I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here.
right. And you know, do you think maybe your military training and his police training helped you deal with halfway keep your composure on being able to escape and evade?
Yes, I think I just had gotten back from basic training and my advanced individual training. I just had I was 18, 19 years old. And everything we practiced, everything we trained in the Army at that time was woodland evasion and woodland operation. So I kind of was like, at that moment, everything kicked in, and it was just getting out of there and getting out of there alive, trying to get out of there. My friend, the cop, he was in disbelief, but he believed that thing had bad intentions. As I talked to him afterwards, I said, "Why did you shot it?" And I said, "Because I felt my life was in danger, and that's what we were trained to do in the academy. It's that my life was in danger. I have to pull my gun and use it."
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that it exists is enough. Those black eyes, to me, those horns, that's a deadly weapon. I'm shooting it. We'll sort it out later. You know,
Yes.
what I mean? But no one would blame him, man. It's time to when something turns around and it has black eyes and it just flew in 7 foot tall with horns. Yeah, it's shooting time.
Yes.
It's a good thing he was a police officer and he had a gun because I think that might have bought you time from whatever was going to happen next.
Yes, I believe so too. As I remember this thing, I remember it. It's like it either crash landed or something like that, because as he was standing up, his wings were expanded across the tree. Not they were horizontal, but it was like on the ground as he was standing up. The wings were pretty big. And in my mind, at least in my mind, I knew that there was no person or any of my other fraternal brothers that were there trying to play a joke on us. They would not do that. We were all sober. We didn't want anybody to get hurt because, we didn't want any of that happen to one of our guys. If not, there would be no fraternity. We were all making sure that safety was first. We were just trying to make sure that everybody was out of the woods. But at that time, when I saw this thing and it crash landed in front of that tree and I started to stand up, I knew there was no man.
Right. Yeah. 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 I understand for sure. I've encountered something with the crow ram horns one time, and believe me, man, there's nothing that no one could say to me that would even begin to make me second guess what I know I saw. Believe when you see something with horns, that's so unnatural. When it's a humanoid face and it has horns, and you know what I'm saying, that's there's no misidentifying that. I think the human eye and human mind is pretty good at noticing things and classifying them into similar categories. If you see a wolf, you could classify that into a canine category, but you're not going to classify it into a bird category. You know what I mean? So something with horns, that's just so crazy. And even I think the white face with the black body and wings and black eyes, and so yeah, I really think you were very fortunate, man, because it didn't land there and turn around and grin at you because it was wanting to talk.
If you wanted to talk, it wasn't me, the person he wanted to talk to, because I wasn't having it.
Yeah, it's going to ask you for a cigarette or something. You got a cigarette or anything?
I know that. I know that as soon as we got out of the woods and I talked to my friend and kind of comparing what we saw, we call it a gargoyle at that moment. We said this looked more like a gargoyle animal. And not just because not because it's like the closest resemblance. Like you said, if you see a wolf, you categorize it as a canine. The only thing that really makes sense to us was like it looked like a gargoyle, and it was not of this world, I don't think, and it was pretty scary. We both saw the same thing. As he was telling me, and we were comparing what we saw. The bat wings, the wings, they look like bat, like that membrane that the bats have. Everything to all those details where we compare it, and after that we never talked about it again. We never talked to anyone about it. I talked to my other friends that were actually another one friend that was there, but he told me I didn't see or hear anything. Only thing I heard was the shots.
All right. Now the did your friend, when he shot at it, did he ever say that he seen the bullets hitting it, or did he notice it doing any damage or anything like that?
Well, he said that if it was a person that was there, he'll know the next day because he shot twice from standing, not moving, from just a standing position, and he's pretty sure that he hit it twice at least.
Yeah.
But he said if it's somebody, they'll be tomorrow. They'll be in a hospital, or they'll find them. And I don't know if it was a person or not. But at that moment, he thought he had hit him at least twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was just wondering if he said that he, saw any damage, like because if he's a police officer, he's not going to miss standing still and taking the first couple shots. He's gonna hit a target that big, center mass shot probably. And typically you would see a spot pop up where you hit it, because it wasn't that terribly far off. I was kind of wondering if he's seen like the bullet make a mark kind of deal, or even hear the slap of the bullet. Sometimes you can hear it.
I think that because we were I never asked him directly if they had hit it. I mean, if they had seen that he hit the mark, but I'm pretty sure he thought he did, because he was saying, yeah, tomorrow I'll know, because somebody's gonna call the precinct, and somebody will say that somebody got shot in the woods, in this woods.
Yeah, and like you said, man, he wouldn't have shot if he thought there was any chance of it being someone. But who could really go out there and play a part of a 7-foot tall winged creature that flies over you and lands? I mean, it's just too complex of a trick, and it's plus risking that when a dude's got a gun, man. If somebody asked me to be, it's like, okay, I want you to put this gargoyle suit on here, and now this dude's got a gun. Well, but here's a bulletproof vest.
We warned everybody. We warned everybody that he warned everybody that he had a gun, that he was armed, that after everything was over, do not try to come back in or try to do nothing stupid, because we were out there in the woods and he was armed.
Right. Yeah.
One, for our safety, and second for just because he's a cop.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. So, now you looked into a little bit of the, when we were talking yesterday, you really didn't know anything about the area, any kind of history, and I suggested that you might try to see what maybe went on in the past there, because sometimes there's history involved in places where things like that are seen. What did you find?
I found they're native of the native people of Puerto Rico, the Taino Indians, had stories about winged creatures or devils. First they called them winged creatures, but then once the Spaniards came in and they brought in Catholicism, then they started talking about demons, because winged, that's pretty much what the description was back in those days. But there were stories of devils appearing unto people that in the southwest area where I'm from, That's was in the southwest area of Puerto Rico. There's a lot of tales of winged creatures or demons appearing to people in the woods, or just appearing to people.
Right.
They call it folkloric tales or urban legends, but to me that night was not urban legend or folk tale. That thing was real.
Yeah. Wasn't there a cave or something like that that someone was telling you about with paintings on the walls?
Yes, that's in the south central Puerto Rico. There's caverns everywhere. It's an island where we have caverns, and my friend was doing a documentary, and he went into these caves just to film his documentary, and he saw on the walls like depictions of winged creatures, winged people, or humanoids, or humans with wings. Pretty much is what he said. So pictures drawn, not drawn, or they were carved because of the way our native Indians did. They did not paint, but they carved into the stone. They were carved into the stone walls of the cave.
Right. So, that kind of makes a good case for that area having that type of cryptid. Then it seems like, for sure, there's history of it.
And I think that before then, just to clarify it, before then I never heard of anything like that. Yes, we had tales of the chupacabras. Yes, we had tales of devils, but I was 18 years old. I didn't believe in none of that nonsense. I was trained in the Army to just see what we to see the facts and be guided by those. And there was no tales of any winged creature that I knew about it or that I was to be thinking as we were going into these woods. I never heard of them until then. Yeah. After that, I started seeing other people seeing the same thing around the island, but not. I never told anybody, so it was not like I told someone and it just became a folk tale.
Yeah. I mean, that was pretty clear. That's why I asked you to look into the history, because you didn't know anything about. I mean, it wasn't something that was a thought of life. People were trying to live their lives, and you being in the military, you looking at facts, and it came down to a point to where the facts were that you were standing in front of a winged creature. That's a fact.
Yes.
What I mean? So,
yes.
I mean, sometimes the myths can turn into facts. You know what I'm saying? And wow.
Exactly.
So, go ahead.
No. You go ahead. I'm sorry.
That to me, I think is interesting, because a lot of times the stuff that people say are myths are based on some reality, and at times they might get embellished or changed a little bit, like on what they call it, even because you said when the Spaniards came, there was different terminology then, because that's Christian people would call that a demon, which I don't think it was a demon. I think it was a fallen entity, angelic being. A demon would be a disembodied spirit that I believe can appear different ways, but or it's a Nephilim hybrid type, corrupted type deal. And people that watch my channel, they kind of know what that is, what I'm talking about there. Anyway, I told you that because you were wondering if there was any other cases that seen something like what you saw, and I said, yeah, there was a lady from Texas. So and she had seen a creature almost exactly like what you described, except hers didn't have horns, but it was a winged creature. And it was all black with a white face. And I think she said the wings on the one she saw had kind of real fine feathers or something like that. on it, but very, very close. A black winged humanoid with a white face. And I don't remember what she said about the eyes, but it was on top of a water tower along with like 11 other big, huge, like 6, 7 feet tall birds. And these creatures had bird heads, and they were almost like Big Bird, just birds that size, and they were dancing in a circle, and this humanoid thing seemed to be the leader. And then when she stops and looks, it flies down and kind of appeared, and then it appeared closer, and boom, it was right there at the car. What did you think about that?
I think that she probably saw something similar, and I think that would be the scariest thing if whatever I saw would have just fly back towards us, which I don't know if it did or not. I know I heard it, but I didn't dare to look back. If it was that close, I would have. I don't know what I probably would have just frozen panic right there. That'd be scary.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you were probably on the verge of that happening. And she described. Now I had forgotten, but when we were talking a minute ago, you said something about she experienced missing time. Is that correct?
Yes. She was mentioning something on the that she had called somebody, and when she asked the person said, I was worrying about you. She said, well, I just talked to you, and he said, no, you did not. And when she checked her phone, the last person she called was like 45 or an hour ago to somebody else, some family that she had. While 45 minutes missing of her time, as I recall, she's saying.
Yeah, that's kind of scary in itself. And
Yes.
do you think maybe something like that would have happened if your friend hadn't had the gun, and you all kind of be fairly well trained to not panic and get out?
I think that whatever that thing was did not have the best intentions in the world. After swooping in into us and looking back, smirking with something that I probably would say, I got you now. I probably wouldn't be here right now telling you this story. I think that something horrible would have happened to me and my friend.
Yeah. Reading body language is something that people have the ability to do, and they don't really think about it. But you can discern a lot from the type of grin. A person can smile, and you can say, "Hey, they're happy," but a person can smile in a certain way, and it's like, that ain't right." That's not a smile. That's a smirk. Whatever. I don't know how to define it, but I know when I see it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
you could tell when the thing turned around. That wasn't how it wasn't smiling. It was smirking.
it was smirking. Yes, it had a. I couldn't tell on his eyes because it was just black sockets looking back at us, and but it was smirking. I could see on the outline of his mouth because the face was so white. It was so. I would say kind of like the lady described, like a clown painted his face white.
Yeah.
That's how white that face was.
I don't know what it is about that, but that just in itself is just terrifying. That's why this. I've been hearing some stuff about these clown attacks, and that's typically a white painted face. A clown mask or something. There's something just horribly scary about that, isn't there?
Yes, I think because we don't know. We don't know. We can't really tell who the person is. I guess when they painted their face, it covers their face out, and it doesn't give you an outline or any discern features that you can say, okay, that's a human, that's a person there.
Even if it's painted on, though, it still is. There's something creepy about it. I
Yes.
guess when you contrast the face to make it just so stand outish kind of thing or something. I don't know what
Yes.
it is for sure, but I know that movie It. When I was younger, I seen a Stephen King movie with that clown. I think the movie was called It. That was freaking
Yes.
horrifying, man. Clowns are supposed to be funny, man. They weren't too funny. You know?
No, no. Yeah, I could see a resemblance of what I saw with a clown painting his face. I just,
Yeah.
as I remember it, I don't know. I just think that a lot of people, that I hear all this stories about Bigfoot, the Dogman, and all that. I believe that they have to seen something. They have seen something that's out there, because I've seen something, and for what I saw, it did not resemble no wolf, no gorilla looking person. It was more like a a face with a grin and horns on it, with a big wingspan.
Yeah, and
trying to get at us.
And it was physical.
Yes.
It was not a see-through, wispy kind of thing. It was actually had a body, and it was there. And we were talking about this yesterday too, because I thought that was just interesting when you were talking about there's things in the woods scarier than the Bigfoot thing, and you're in on these forums talking to people, and what you've seen. There's people that claim to see all sorts of different things. Although Bigfoot's most common, Dogman's getting more common, and then you get reports like you're talking about. And I hope to get this interview here soon of this lady who saw a humanoid thing, and it was only like 7 or 8 inches tall. She saw it walking across the road. She was kind of out in the country somewhere, and it was in the leaves, and she was looking, trying to see what the heck was in the leaves rustling around, and she felt like it was kind of doing like a chameleon thing, trying to blend in or something. And then all of a sudden it
Yeah.
starts walking across the road, and she said it was real spastic looking, as it was like, jerking kind of deal, spastically across. But she said, I know what I saw. It was a humanoid thing, but it was only like 7 inches tall. Walked across the road, and it
Wow.
scared the heck out of her, man. She said, I won't even go back down. Something that small you wouldn't think. And it was like, shoot, son, I'll step on that. But she won't even go down that road no more. She's afraid to jump on the car, or something, hanging on the bumper, waiting for you to get home. You wake up and it's standing on your face or something. Like, man.
See, that's the other thing when you said that, the jerky movements. This thing did not move jerk. It was not. It was all into a smooth transition from the floor up.
Yeah.
It was like natural for it to be able to move that way.
Yeah.
As I'm talking and you say you can't recount those stories, it comes back to my mind.
Yeah.
It was so long ago. It's almost, I'm 40 years old now. So it happened about 22 years ago. I still can see this thing just standing up, looking back at us.
When I got your email, I got the email from Steve Bledsoe. So thank you, Steve, for sending that story to me. Steve Bledsoe. He's been a fan. He's been on the show actually and shared a Bigfoot encounter, and his brother came and shared because he was with him on one of them. Pretty cool guy, Steve Bledsoe from Oklahoma. But anyway, I was looking at a verse in Isaiah, and it was talking about the satyr. People know the satyr basically from pictures of like a goat bottom half, a humanoid top half with horns. But when you look that word up, in Hebrew it means hairy, and sometimes it's used for like talking about a goat. It was that word, particular word, Seor, is also used for describing Esau, how hairy he was.
Yes.
But in that passage in Isaiah, it talks about this out in the wilderness, a desert, kind of a deserted place. Basically, after the city was destroyed, it talks about no humans living there, and it becomes a habitation for dragons, a habitation for the satyr, who calls to his fellows. And that makes me think about the Bigfoot calling, people going out in the woods and calling. And
Yeah.
the word meaning hairy and all, I don't know, it just jumps out to me. And it talked about all these, like the screech owl. A lot of people that have the alien gray kind of experiences see these owls, and there's like a synchronicity thing going on with owls. And then, but it talked about doleful creatures, and I'm thinking, what the heck is a doleful creature? And they live out there away from people, out in these wilderness places where people are not. And when people are encountering these things, and you see something like that in the Bible, it makes you think about, these things have been known about. Stuff like this have been known about for a long time. But I think that's a very interesting verse, because I imagine those little type people. There's in the Four Corners area. There's like the water babies and the little people, and little, there's folklore about fairies. L.A.'s Marzullian has got a little picture of a skeleton or X-ray in a pickled, kind of like a pickled body of a little winged creature. Has pointy ears. Man, it's only about 7 inches tall. And the veterinarian looked at the X-rays. He said, "That's not fake, dude. That's got a real skeleton in there, and you could see the veins structure and stuff on the
Oh
coming
wow.
out of the head, and it had these little dots, and they didn't know what these dots were until they took it to the veterinarian, and that veterinarian said, "I've seen this before in animals I've treated. That's buckshot. Someone shot it with a shotgun." Probably birdshot
Oh
is what I
wow.
was thinking, but because some kid found it on the side of a road, and of course there was more than one that this guy had that gave these things to the L.A. Marzulli, a guy in Mexico, basically. But anyway, doleful creatures makes you wonder about is that a doleful creature? uh,
I
but
don't know, but it was scary, and it was pretty intense at that moment.
Now, will you go sleep in the woods, go camping by yourself?
Was that?
Would you go camping by yourself and sleep in the woods?
Oh heck no! Not
me,
after that.
me neither, man. I'm serious, dude. I've had
No.
like Bigfoot walking around my tent before, and the dog was all freaked out. It was pushing trees down, throwing things at me, and after doing this for so long, it's like, man, that kind of ruined me, man. I won't go by myself. I'll go, and I think I'll be okay, because I'll be praying, and I just really believe in prayer. But I wouldn't go by myself. Like, because we were talking about you did some training in Kentucky here, right?
Yes. Yes.
And
I I was stationed at Fort Campbell.
yeah,
No, we went to the woods, but there was plenty of us around, and I didn't feel that scared like that. But on my own, I would not. To this day, I don't go into the woods by myself.
yeah. I mean, if I was to give you $100, would you sleep all night in the northern end of LBL here in Kentucky?
No,
Not 100 anyway. Huh? It'd be more than
no, no, no. There's no money in the world. Put me out in the woods again, all by myself. Although I was not by myself, I was with my friend. I still, even to this day, when I'm going into the woods, I've been in the army for so long, so basically we live in the woods.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I I hear anything, and it brings back memories to that moment, and I just look up to make sure that nothing is flying up on top of us.
right,
Um, but since then, I never saw anything like that ever again.
right. Yeah, I mean, the only things I would really be worried about seeing would be Bigfoot or Dogman thing typically. But you know what? I mean, I've had encounters they just happen out of the blue, and with I've had encounters with strange things, man. I mean, like the horned creature or the Darrow thing. I don't know if you've watched that video yet. And I had an encounter with a shadow person twice. And one of the times, man, this thing was solid, man. He had whites of his eyes. The irises were like a dirty white. And he was so close to me, staring at me when I opened my eyes. And I wasn't asleep because I just laid down. I mean, I wasn't laid down like for 15, 20 seconds. And I was trying to get comfortable and open my eyes back up, just, shuffling around. And I was in the recliner in the living room because I got kicked out of bed for snoring. you know, and that thing was that brave, man. He came up on me, dude. It's like, dude, you didn't even give me an hour or nothing to go to sleep, man. You just pop up on me, and he was leaned over, dude, staring, and I seen wrinkles in his face. He was so black that at a distance you would say that's a shadow man, but up that close, I mean, I seen wrinkles in his face, man. I seen skin, and
Wow.
it was very, very horrifying. I jumped where I was in the recliner. I jumped kind of backwards, so the recliner got top heavy and flipped, and I rolled out onto the floor, and the recliner just tilted back up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Teeter tottered back up, and I jumped up, and it was gone. Um, but and I was wondering, it's like, man, why wasn't I rebuking it or something? But when you first see
Hmm.
something like that, you're trying to figure out what the heck it is, and your mind's trying to compute, and then you start thinking about praying and rebuking and that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? First,
Yes.
you yell and jump, and then you got to gather your thoughts for a minute. But it laughed, man. I darn sure was praying, and I didn't really want to go back to sleep, so um, I waited till it was almost daylight before I went to bed because it's like, man, I ain't sleeping now, boy. I don't know where he went. I know I was praying, but I was studying on a topic for a video. It was tying into Hitler and the Vril Society and stuff like that, and actually I quit. I was like, man, heck with that. I ain't even dipping no farther into that category. That must be too
Hmm.
evil or something. And I felt. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm guessing at what caused it. Um, but anyway, man, you certainly have a very, very fascinating story, and I believe that the lady in Texas. Do you remember what her name was? It seemed like it was Debbie
I
or
think it was
something.
Debbie.
Okay.
Yeah, Debbie.
Yeah, I bet she will. Because when she was on the show, she was wondering if anyone else had seen one of these. She was really kind of desperate to find someone else that knew something about this. So she's going to be super stoked to hear about your story. And
I hope so.
and if she wants me to, man, I'll send you her email.
Yes,
If I can
that'll
find
be.
it, if it's okay, I'll ask both of you first, and if you're cool with it, maybe you all can talk and compare notes or something.
Yes, no problem with that.
Well, Giovanni, you got my number. Save my number in your phone, man, and hear of anything else, or if you want to talk sometime, man. If I got time, I'll talk to you, and if I don't have
Sure.
time, I'll just tell you I'm busy.
All right.
That's fair enough, isn't it? Yeah. But thank you.
No problem.
All right, man. Hang on the phone there for a second. Okay, YouTube land. Sorry that it's taken me a bit to get another video out. I had something really big that was coming, and I was waiting. So this went on for a week, and I was like, well, I can't wait any longer. I hope this story comes through. I don't want to give away too much about it, uh, but it's going to be huge if this actually happens. This is going to be very, very big. But we will see. I think that it will happen. And that's about all I know to say for the moment. But anyway, I'll put out some videos until that other stuff gets here, and it may be here tomorrow. So we shall see. That's all I know. But thank you all for watching. If anybody out there has a story they'd like to share here on this show, you can contact me at brentonson@gmail.com. Give me some contact information, a brief description of your story. And if anybody wants to contribute to help me with this show, to help buy some different new microphones and go on here, there, whatever, you can contribute by going to a PayPal me link in the description. Super easy to use, and it's very much appreciated. Until next time, God bless, and we'll see y'all in the next video.